Oh, the new one's called Gundam Build Divers? Makes sense after the swim club was one of the best parts of Try. That's my one joke about the name for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Gundam is a franchise about robots and war and stuff, but at the same time is also about selling people Gundam model kits. Then came Gundam Build Fighters, which decided to just cut out the middleman and inject the Gunpla adverts directly into your eyeballs. And you know what? It was really good. Then there was a sequel called Gundam Build Fighters Try that was less good. Now I know there are peeps out there who enjoy Try, but I don't think it's exactly controversial to say it was a bit of a downgrade from the original. And I say this as someone who really tried to like it. The sort of breaking point for me was one fight around the midpoint of the series that has a lot of similarities to a fight from the original and tied up a lot of Try's problems into a nice little package that can then be compared to the package of Build Fighters. And I didn't mean for this to sound like a penis thing, but I'm now realizing it kinda does. So I'm gonna call these two fights the Grudge matches and dig down into how Build Fighters Try fails where Build Fighters succeeds. I think it's pretty safe to draw a line between the Grudge matches. It's a fight against some blue-haired siblings who've been hanging around the background for a while, where they mostly use guerrilla tactics and have some kind of grudge against the main rivals of the series. Wait a minute, that seems like a pretty big difference. In Build Fighters, the blue-haired rovers are battling the rival they have the grudge against. In Try, they're battling the main characters, who they don't really have any beef with. It's fine for characters to fight who don't have any beef, since this is a tournament and one of the benefits of that structure is that everyone gets the pre-built motivation of wanting to be the best. But the thing is that Try has a big problem with developing its rivals, and this fight is a missed opportunity. The Gunpla Academy, the main rivals of Try, appear about halfway through the show, and after that we get a training fight to establish them as a big deal, a tournament fight that establishes Shia as also a big deal since we hadn't seen a fight yet, a tournament fight against another guy who's a big deal, so they struggle a bit before winning because they are the bigger deal. And then the final showdown against the main crew. It is important to show they're a big deal, but we never go beyond that. People talk about how they're all bored and craving a worthy opponent who the main characters might be, but that boredom is just talk. Flip over to Meijin Kawaguchi, the rival of the original series, who was established as a big deal as early as episode 2, and early on has a climactic fight to show the main characters are not a big enough deal to beat him yet. The Grudge match is then used as a chance to show him struggling, but still winning, because he's a big deal, and he gets another match against a character from his past that lets us see his motivations, not just talk about them. The Grudge match in Try could have been used for the Gunpla Academy in a similar way, with the brothers challenging why they're such a big deal. Okay, I think that's enough of me saying big deal because it doesn't really mean anything anymore. Instead, the Try Grudge match is mainly focused on the story of the brothers, and to throw a bone to Try, these triplets are much more fleshed out than the twins in Build Fighters. They want recognition so bad that they've forgotten the fun of Gunpla, and the main characters help remind them, whereas the twins are just some fucking assholes. It's nice to characterize the triplets, but they're not really relevant after this fight, when the Gunpla Academy are meant to be the hype opponent who the whole show is building toward. Whoa, that is way too close, man. And the Grudge match being against our main characters also shows Try's issue in structuring character dynamics. So I mentioned how the main rival in Build Fighters is there basically from the start. Well, this actually happens with most of the other opponents Sei and Reiji face. Both series contain a fairly local tournament in the first half, followed by the real shit in the second half. In Build Fighters, the opponents in the first tournament don't really matter. The fights were more about Sei and Reiji coming together as a team, while outside of the tournament, the future opponents were being introduced and shown to be a bit of a big deal. Damn it, sorry, it's still in my head. Once the real shit rolled around, we already had this cast of established characters to add context to the fights. But Try spends quite a bit of time fleshing out the opponents of the first tournament. And again, always nice to have some fleshed out peeps. Though maybe not this so much. But these characters aren't really important in the grand scheme. They're not part of the real shit. Like, there is one that sticks around for some harem shenanigans, and then there's another who... Look, you totally forgot this guy was in the second half of the show, right? So Try has this big pile of characters from both the first and second tournament, and they still gotta make sure to flesh out their three main characters too. This is part of what leads to the rival team not being in the spotlight so much, because they also need to have a fight focused on Sekai, a fight focused on Yuma, a fight for... and that's it. To handle all this, Try chooses to over-focus on the main characters, with everyone else just being solely defined through the Try fighters. And by Try fighters that usually means Sekai. Obviously, the main characters are important, but focusing character dynamics in this way means we only see one side of the other characters. You can easily see this in the ships of the shows. Build Fighters has a pairing for pretty much every character that lets us see them in a bit of a different light. And you know what? It's kinda cute. Try instead has all these ships get sucked into a harem with Sekai like an all-consuming black hole. Basically, fuck Sekai, fuck the world. No, that's too mean. Sekai doesn't know what's going on, he just wants to punch stuff, and I can respect that. Thing is, Sekai is like this crazy experiment combining the strong parts of Sei and Reiji without the actual arcs they went through, so I just couldn't really find him that compelling as he doesn't really learn anything through the whole series. And wait, I feel like I've gotten really off track. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, the grudge matches! The thing about the Try Grudge match is the main ways it fails is in its place within the structure and exposing the flawed character dynamics. There's not as much to talk about for the fight part of it. It starts with a similar guerrilla style battle to the original series, although one where the characters fall into traps more through incompetence, but then diverges into a fight against a big monster for the second episode. Oh, that's another thing. Try has a few fights that end up stretching over 2 episodes, while Build Fighters kept the fights quick and snappy and 1 episode. Not all the Try fights are like this, and there are some that are still quick and snappy, and obviously Try has 3 times the Gunpla running around, so there's more moving parts. But there is a trend to more just standing around talking, and using the flashy spectacle super moves over and over. Now, I like me some flashy spectacle super moves, and Reiji definitely like to bust out them build knuckles a lot, but it makes the fights all mushed together. The Build Fighters Grudge match had its own unique flavour, while Try's has the same flavour as all the others. And hey, even if you like the flavour Try is serving, when the big spectacle fights have no character dynamics behind them, then sometimes they just feel like... Okay, what exactly is the conclusion I'm making here? Do characters good? Know who's going to be important and build them up early? Give characters a chance to exist outside of the main characters? Make sure the fights actually have meaning for the people involved? Try winning? There's a bunch of lessons to take from Try's problems. The grudge match wasn't some uniquely bad moment that made me lose faith in Try, but it was the moment I saw the cracks in the foundation. It meant that the big finale felt like just a bunch of punching between characters who could have been anyone. Gundam Build Divers has a promising start, so I'll have some cautious optimism that it will follow through. Plus, it helps that the cast of 3 is already pretty well established. That's right, I made another joke about their name, so what, I can do what I want. Oh shit. Come on, it doesn't even make sense. They don't dive much in 3.
ポテトチップス食べてたらふと思った何十年も